understand it's very old, but like it's like a toffee fay or something. Like it's like
All right, we've got
eating
35
candy
seconds.
flavored
Thank you.
charcoal. Okay.
I am looking.
Good afternoon, everyone. Todd Allbaugh here at the world headquarters of Civic Media in the newsroom. Now, 6 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock. I want to begin with this breaking news at this hour. This is from the desertnews.com in Utah, although it is being reported at several national events at this hour. Charlie Kirk, the political activist and outspoken critic of the left, has been shot in a Utah event, and a suspect is in custody. This is a breaking news story, continues to be updated, very fluid at this hour. Here is what we know. Charlie Kirk was shot at an event at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. Earlier today, bystanders report seeing Kirk shot near his neck during a Q&A with students. A suspect is in custody, according to a UVU alert sent to students. The campus is on lockdown. The alert from the university said, quote, a single shot was fired on campus toward a visiting speaker. Police are investigating now. Suspect is in custody, unquote. Again, we want to be careful, only telling you what we know for sure at this hour. We are monitoring special news reports from CBS and others across the country right now. We will update it during the show coming up here as we know the facts. Don't want to speculate, but what we know for sure being reported by the desertnews.com in Utah at this hour. Charlie Kirk shot at an event at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah earlier today. Bystanders report seeing Kirk shot in or near his neck during a Q&A with students, and University Police report that a suspect is in custody. The condition of Kirk at this hour is unknown. That is what we know for now. Again, we'll continue to update it during our show upcoming, but for now, at 8 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock, for Civic Media News, I'm Todd Allbaugh.
From the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. Todd Allbaugh, along with producer and engineer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is 8 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock on this Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. We will forego the usual greeting of Wisconsin and the Wednesday in light of the breaking news at this hour. Again, we'll continue to follow it throughout the show as more information becomes available, but we know that conservative political activist Charlie Kirk has been shot at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. Bystanders report seeing Kirk shot near his neck. Police say a suspect is in custody. The condition of Kirk at this hour, unknown. Coming up a little bit later on in this broadcast, our second hour at 3:35, following an appearance this morning on Mornings with Pat Kreitlow this morning. David Crowley, the Milwaukee County executive who announced his run for governor, will be on this program at 3:35 this afternoon. Looking forward to a conversation with him. And also going to be talking a little What's Worse for you at hour 2 as well. But right now, joining us from the aforementioned Lake Wissota studios, Mr. Pat Kreitlow, host of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, and Trygve Olson, senior advisor to the Lincoln Project, former Republican like myself, joining us from his home outside Washington, D.C. Gentlemen, this is breaking news. Certainly not the way we intended to come on the air today. Let me start with this. I have said on this program, and I know this network has maintained, that we condemn in the strongest words possible any form of violence, in particular political violence. That is certainly my continued stance on this, thinking of Charlie Kirk and his family at this hour. But Pat, once again, another case as we come on the air, like you've come on the air on your show, I've come on the air on mine, another senseless act of gun violence in this country.
That's really the right way to start this off, that it is another senseless act of gun violence. And it does not matter who the perpetrator is or who the victim is when we're talking about the epidemic of gun violence. And it is something we don't see anywhere else. Of course, we see attacks. Of course, we see assassination attempts. We see murders and everything else. But we have so grown the odds exponentially in this country. And with each case that grabs the headlines, with each case that warrants a special report like this, there are so many others that don't. There are so many others who will be shot today, who will die today from gun violence. And not to diminish this one particular one, but I don't want to diminish all of the other ones either. That I hope that a high profile case like this only helps reassert the notion that we do not have to live this way. Whether it's with we're talking about guns, or if we're just talking about political violence, we can be better than this in America.
Trigby Olson, to Pat's point, already President Trump out on his Truth Social, tweeting out his thoughts for Charlie Kirk, who, of course, founded Turning Points USA, a conservative commentator, a friend of President Trump. But to Pat's point, and I mean, I could say I don't want to politicize that, but I think that would be dishonest on my part. Why is it that when things like this happened in Minneapolis, it took hours for the president to say anything about it? Why is it that we seem to look at not we here, the three of us, but why is it that today's politicians seem to look at these tragedies too often through political lenses in winners and losers, instead of just saying, look, we're all human here. We should be taking care of one another.
God damn it.
Second, Trivy,
sorry about that. My daughter called and I had forgotten to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I'm sure she was calling to extort money from me for Starbucks coffee. Listen, the bottom line is all Americans, regardless of what you think about Charlie Kirk, should think about this and recognize that this is not who we should be. It's not who we are, or maybe it is who we are in this moment. But the reality is, whether it's in Minneapolis with the legislators, it's Charlie Kirk. The bottom line is we have to decide as Americans, are we gonna go the path that our founders laid out and determine who holds power and how power is adjudicated through the ballot box, or are we going to decide that on the streets with violence? Because those are the only two options. And it doesn't matter whether somebody is on the far right, the far left. Quite frankly, it's antithetical to everything our founders set out. It's antithetical to who we are as Americans. And quite frankly, it's an insult to all those Americans who gave their lives for the freedoms that we should enjoy. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. And, Trivy, you've seen authoritarianism, you've seen military takeovers in different parts of the world. You've fought against that, literally. And to your point, I want to get both your takes on this. Start with you, Trigby. We've seen this, unfortunately, up close and personal with two members of the Minnesota legislature being shot and one of them killed, and her husband. Now we see it with Charlie. It just seems like this political violence is becoming. I condemn all violence. I condemn all shootings. But now it's moved into, suddenly now we see an uptick, or is it just me, in political targeting, which, to your point, Trigby, is a very dangerous path to start down instead of having our fights done at the ballot box.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. At the end of the day, if my experiences around the world taught me anything, again, I get back to this. There's only two ways that power can be adjudicated. It's either adjudicated through the ballot box and the win-win of democracy, or through the zero sum of who holds the most power. And that's determining it on the streets. And quite frankly, Charlie Kirk may be has political views that are reprehensible, but it does not condone that kind of action. Just as if somebody thinks that a state legislator from Minnesota, same thing. It's not who we are. It's not who we should aspire to be. This isn't a great America. This is the absolute worst of America in
Pat?
any of those instances.
All right. Well, somebody's got to say it. I will take the heat for this. Charlie Kirk is a vile person. Charlie Kirk spread hate throughout the country. Let's just put that out there. I don't want to treat this with any shade of vanilla. That's why it is so incumbent upon us to condemn this kind of attack. We have a First Amendment that lets people say vile and hateful things and draw a crowd. He had quite a crowd that he had drawn there in Utah. And frankly, the rhetoric might have been dangerous, but the remedy is not a bullet. The remedy is through organization. It is through the ballot box. It's through talking to each other about the kinds of things that he was spreading and to do better by the people that we want to be, rather than, this gun-driven mentality that, frankly, a lot of people who agree with Charlie Kirk more than me have been spreading.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Pat, because he does say vile things, does say terrible things. But I'm taken back to my last stint at the state capitol here, a block from where I am right now. When I worked for my old boss, Dale Schultz, and I think it was 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. And there was a big Ku Klux Klan rally. Not big, but I mean, it was 20 or 30 people, and it was super controversial. And they had it on the Capitol grounds, and it drew a lot of a big crowd, both for and protesting. And I said, it's just sick. This is just sick that this is allowed. And my old boss looked at me, and I'll clean it up for radio, and he said, yeah, it is frickin' sick. But isn't it great we live in a country where that's allowed, just like you and I can say what we want to say? And I am for free speech too. I mean, we can't be calling for people to be killed or anything like that. But you're right, Pat. Our Constitution guarantees us the right of free speech within certain limits. But if you disagree, shooting somebody ain't the answer, Pat.
Well, no, it's not. Very few people would think that, a few gun deaths would be worth it to have the Second Amendment. Now, unfortunately, one of those people is Charlie Kirk, who once said, I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have a Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That's a prudent deal. It is rational. Charlie Kirk is quoted in Newsweek magazine. Now, when this is all said and done, are we expecting Charlie Kirk to have some kind of an epiphany? No. Look at Steve Scalise, Republican member of Congress, who was shot at that softball game. You're not trying to think that you're going to use bullets to change outcomes or to change somebody's mind, no matter what they've said in the past, is as counterproductive as it gets.
Trigby, I will put this out there. We'll come back and get your take on this. Matt in Middleton brings up a good point, I think. Matt writes on the Civic Media text line, quote, let's not ignore the fact that the Trump regime is engaging in violence every day and wants to push the rest of us into conflict so that they can stop our election and have their Christian dictatorship. We are in a civil war, and let's be honest about that, unquote. That is from Matt in Middleton. We're coming up against the break here, so I want both of you just to think on that, because I think that is what we're given, what's being thrown at Wisconsinites right now in the news and the rhetoric, and how we respond to that as people, I think is a really important question to take on. And then we'll move off this subject and on to other things. We'll come back with the latest on Charlie Kirk being shot in Utah and more news of the day. You're listening to the Todd Allbaugh Show for a Wednesday on the Civic Media Radio Network.
FTX in the Mad City, 4 Lakes, State Street, and 9,000 hemp shops.
It's a good discussion, guys.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in
An
the U.S.
unfortunate
are
one,
now
but one that
spending
has to
on
be had.
gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive,
I don't think
you have
Matt
to
knows what
download
it means to be
Upside,
in a
the
civil
free app
war.
that gives you cash back every time you get
Well, I
gas.
think, but I
That's
think
right.
that
You can earn
I
real
think
cash
that's
back
good
with
to
Upside
bring up.
just by
You know,
buying the
I mean,
gas you're already buying. You can literally
what
start
we
earning cash
what
back today.
what a lot of
I use Upside
Wisconsinites
every time I
envision
fill up.
as a
I've
quote
already
unquote
made
civil
our
war
$200
compared to what an
$300.
actual
You're putting
civil
gas
war
in
is,
your
whether
car
it's
anyway.
here
Why
or
not
whether it's
get
ones
real
that you've
cash
probably
back?
been
If you like free
tangentially
money,
or directly
download
involved with in
Upside.
Eastern Europe. You know, when you actually have a civil war, is different than a theological or a theoretical civil war.
And quite frankly, the fact that people are framing it as we're in a civil war is going to lead to a whole lot more people having what on both sides having what happened to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
If I tangentially and not necessarily on air,
Yeah.
but one more reason where we're going is made worse by people who have turned Twitter into what it is today.
Yeah.
Is, I mean, we're already getting the graphic close-ups of the shooting.
Well, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Drudge has a video of it up. It's terrible.
Dude.
Yeah.
I have decided not to watch it, but I had to make an active decision to avoid it because it's everywhere.
Maybe that's the
don't-
thing we
I'm-
need to say is just to caution people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just stay
I
off
don't
social
know
media.
if
Stay off
I'm
social
right
media for a
about
couple hours
this.
at least.
Pat, you might know this from your. I don't believe that the major networks showed the video of Kennedy being shot until
Well, the Zapruder film wasn't
After.
released till what 72, and Geraldo Rivera
right.
was the first one to put it up. Yeah.
And I don't know about the other one that shows the long view of it. It was I don't think they did.
No, and then at some point it just became
30
like,
seconds.
you know, routine to watch somebody's head being blown off, you know.
All right, here we go, Joe.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is Wednesday, September 10th, 2022. Following the breaking news at this hour, conservative political activist and founder of Turning Points USA, Charlie Kirk, has been shot at an event at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. At this hour, we know that bystanders report seeing Kirk shot near or in his neck during a Q&A session with students there. A suspect is in custody. The condition of Kirk at this hour is unknown. Continue to follow this. Joining us on a Wednesday, as per usual, from his Lake Wissota studio and host of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow from 6 until 9 on this network, Pat Kreitlow. And senior advisor to the Lincoln Project, joining us from his home outside Washington, D.C., Trygve Olsen. Guys, there is other news of the day, but I think it's important to kind of have this discussion here. I just want to button this up. We took this text from Matt in Middleton before we went to break, and he's saying to not ignore the fact that Trump is engaging in what he says, quote, in violence every day, and want to push the rest of us into conflict so they can stop our elections and have their Christian dictatorship. We are in a civil war, and let's be honest about that, unquote. I think that Matt represents a lot of our listeners in terms of what they're taking in and their feelings on that. I want both of your reactions. Let's start with Trygve.
I mean, first of all, Matt, you're not in a civil war. You clearly haven't ever been in a civil war. I don't think it suggests, maybe I'm wrong about this, I don't know your background, but if you've ever been in a conflict zone or where serious violent civil unrest is going on, you don't live that every day. You go downtown in Middleton, you're not in a civil war, but you will be if that's what you're creating a self-sustaining prophecy to be. You're in a political battle right now, and the answer to the autocratic inclinations of the people that you're up against is best resolved by nonviolent resistance tactics. Violence actually turns the people that you want against you, not in favor of you. And that's a documented fact. So it's reckless to even use the term civil war. And I quite honestly, that's the same kind of rhetoric that Charlie Kirk and people like that, Glenn Beck and what's Steve Bannon and those people use on the other side. So you're not in a civil war. And if you think you are, go online and actually do some digging around of what it looks like in a civil war. Or quite frankly, if you want to see what a civil war looks like, go and look at what's happening in Ukraine. I realize that's not a civil war, but that is a war zone. That's what a war zone looks like. Middleton, Wisconsin, not a war zone. Not.
Pat
Period.
Kreitlow.
End of issue.
The line, I guess, is attributed first to Carl Sandburg. What if they held a war and nobody came? And that's really the right way to go about it, is to say, well, you're looking to declare war on me. I'm not going to take part. Now, that doesn't mean I'm letting you, defeat me. It means I've got my own way of doing this without violence, which is organizing, which is communicating, which is voting, which is informing people about things that are happening that are abhorrent, including today's shooting. I obviously have no connection or history to the civil rights movement, but when I think of the campaign of nonviolence there and in India and other places, a lot of people, war is declared on them. War was declared on how many Black Americans, how many died, how many were jailed, and all the other horrific things that happened. But they didn't fight the war. They didn't take the bait to fight. They fought in their own way and consequently led to consequential victories. Clearly, there's still much to be done. But again, the nonviolent path, while is not guaranteed to be free from violence on you, is just so much more preferable than letting this country spiral into the self-fulfilling prophecy that Trigby is talking about.
We'll continue to follow this breaking news on the shooting of Charlie Kirk as more news becomes available. But before we let you go, Pat, I want to turn a page quickly. You had Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley on your program this morning. I listened to that, thought it was a great interview. He is going to be with us in hour number 2 here. Your just thoughts and takeaways of him getting in the race.
Well, if you let me point to his introduction video. In much the same way I did to Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, she put out a terrific 2-minute video that was, here's my story, here's why I'm running. And I thought, well, that's going to be tough to match. And yet David Crowley has done that. Again, a very good 2 minutes worth your time of this is who I am. This is my background. And then, look, anybody can make a good film. I'm just saying that they both turned out well. They both do well in live interviews. And then today's interview, the county executive again made the case for what he has done both as a legislator and an executive in the executive branch of government to give him the management experience that would serve well as governor. Now, we also had Earl Ingram on who said, a lot of nice things about him, but then, looked at the scene of Wisconsin in general and said, governor, he said something along the lines of, that's a heavy lift in an entire state where he's not known statewide. But even if it's not successful, ultimately, I think he's going to impress a whole lot of people over the next 11 months.
As a former Democratic state senator in this state, Pat, the Democratic Party well earlier today or this afternoon. Mayor Cavalier Johnson of Milwaukee also endorsing David Crowley. There was some thought that they both might get in the primary. Milwaukee and Dane County, that's where this primary is going to be won or lost, is it not?
Well, by and large, but again, they'll have to look for, if it's a close primary, every possible vote, which is why David Crowley was right to be on the road today in La Crosse when we reached him. Sarah Rodriguez had been there a day or two before, and there is, you and I, we all agree, there's no substitute for shoe leather, or in this case, your foot on the gas pedal. Get out and actually talk to people. Don't think you can do this through political ads alone.
You can listen to Pat every morning from 6 until 9 from those beautiful studios right there in Lake Wissota, watching the fog rise from the lake before he heads over to the Mallard in the afternoon. Thank you, Pat. Have a good afternoon.
Yep. See ya.
Come on back. More discussion with Trigby Olson, Senior Advisor of the Lincoln Project, an update on what's happening with Charlie Kirk shooting in Utah. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for a Wednesday across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network. Thank you, Patrick.
You are very welcome. Talk to you later.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Join the family. Civic Media has a number of great jobs across the
Well,
state. Open
Trigby,
now
where do you want to
at
go next?
Oh, we could go to
civicmedia.us/careers.
the fact that
Well, this
Russian
weather may
drones
be
are
ideal
landing in
for you and
Poland
I
and they're
and
having
our
to shoot them
That's-
down.
That's actually
That's
where I
not
was. That's where I was going to go. That's how I was going to start, and then this happened. So okay, we're on the same page.
Farming news on a Wednesday. Amy Aragoni, who's the manager of Bailey's Run Vineyard in New Glarus, is struggling. with
Just a light
mildew to
Wednesday
plant
news
because
day.
Early Edelweiss has already been picked, but later grapes are struggling in September because of lack of heat.
Yeah, we're not happy about it at all. We have 5 varieties that we grow. We have one variety, Edelweiss, that ripens usually in August, really early every year.
I appreciate it. I appreciate your under the breath talk before we started.
To ripen that fruit. So we're in the phase right now where we're taking sugar readings pretty often, and my sugars are just sitting. They're not moving up at all because I just
Any song you want to use, Trigby?
Aragoni, she is the manager of Bailey's.
I was gonna go with Def Leppard, Pour Some Sugar on Me, but that probably doesn't fit given
Probably a little too
reality.
aggressive for today.
So,
Yeah.
well, yeah, they hit me like a bomb. How about
Other crops around Wisconsin doing a little bit better. Those updates next.
Stop, children? What's that sound? Everybody, look what's going down. Buffalo Springfield's. Something's happening here. For What It's Worth is the name of the song.
Right, that's the name. Yeah, that's the name. Okay.
All right, and then for a little bit, we'll start with the Russian stuff and Poland and Ukraine, and then I just sent you something, Zommers. I forwarded it to you from Tom Jackson. We're not going to take the whole thing as 4 minutes, but we have a special interview for Trigby that we'll play a little bit later on this half hour.
What?
Featuring 3 powerful modes of action to strike corn rootworm at full force. Outsmart, outmaneuver, and outmatch their every move with the industry's first triple BT protein stack built for corn rootworm control. Take back your yield potential. Make your move at Durastat.com. Available for the 2027 season.
The drier weather has allowed Wisconsin farmers to move forward with the corn
Ba,
silage.
ba, da, 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 da.
All right, I got that ready.
All right, thank you.
2% of our corn is called good to excellent.
Oh, I also have sports cuts from Mike Clemens we didn't get to
Oh, yeah,
listen
that's
to and
right.
check out before the show because
Tomorrow's
turns out
a
there were things
big
happening.
day, baby. The Micah Parsons project continues.
89% of that crop is called good to excellent. Want more farm news? Pop on over to Midwest Farmers.
Can't wait.
You'll find all kinds of written articles as well as our playlist. That's a look at food news on a Wednesday. I'm Pam Yankee.
Download the Civic Media app in the Google Play or Apple App Store.
Oh, Donald Trump's threatened to sue us again.
The Civic Media Radio Network.
Lincoln Project responded to the president, "Go F yourself. We look forward to discovering and taking your deposition, as well as those of Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and 1,000 FBI agents they used to review the Epstein materials."
That's fantastic.
That's funny.
Maggie Dawn Show.
James Sandholm joining me.
Trigby Olson is the only person that I know who actually gets sued by the president.
Yeah, just another day at the office. Todd.
Just another day for the folks at the Lincoln Project getting sued by Donald Trump. Ay, ay, ay.
The award-winning Maggie Dawn Show. Weekday afternoons from 4 until 6.
Hey there, Wisconsin. Tom Hartman here. Democracy is not a spectator sport, so join me each and every weekday right here on Civic Media for the Tom Hartman program from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Covering the news of the day and sharing
30
ways for
seconds.
you to get
Thank
off
you.
the sidelines.
think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Now 35 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock on this Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. Zommers on the board. Many thanks to Pat Kreitlow for joining us on a Wednesday, busy news day, and appreciate his time. Remember, you can listen to Pat every morning from 6 until 9 a.m. across many of these same stations on the Civic Media Radio Network, continuing to follow the top breaking news story at this hour. Conservative commentator and founder of Turning Points USA. Very conservative, very controversial for many. Charlie Kirk was shot at an event at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah earlier today. Bystanders report seeing Kirk shot near his neck during a Q&A with students. A suspect is in custody, according to campus police. The university is on lockdown. Campus police say it was a single shot towards Kirk. And again, they have a suspect in custody at this hour. The condition of Kirk is unknown. We'll continue to follow that as the afternoon proceeds. Trygve Olsen, senior advisor at the Lincoln Project, like myself, a former Republican, a good Wisconsin guy, now lives out in Washington, D.C., or the suburbs thereof, joins us as per usual on Wednesday as well. Trygve, let's turn a page a little bit here to other news of the day. And this is where I had planned to start with you and Pat, had it not been for the breaking news of the hour. I feel equally as important to the United States' overall interest is what happened overnight in Poland, in which several Russian drones went through Polish airspace. Remember, folks that are listening, Poland is a member of NATO, the alliance of which the United States is in. Charter, an attack on one is an attack on all. And Poland's defense system shot down what certainly appears to be Russian drones in Polish airspace, which landed on Polish soil. Several homes and whatnot were damaged. Last time I checked, about an hour ago, no fatalities at this hour in Poland. Polish government claims that Russia went through their airspace, went over Polish lands to attack Ukraine. Trygve Olsen, again, you know this part of the world very well. You've worked there. What are your first thoughts and reflections on what happened overnight in Poland?
Well, Todd, I will tell you, when I was in Lithuania, because, we spent part of our summers there, there was a couple of Russian drones that were shot down during the time that we were there. So you had F-16s or F-18s roaring overhead. It's something that those people are living with on a daily basis. I mean, this one, it looks like maybe was more intentional. Although you never really know. You're talking about a place where, like post-Soviet, you couldn't get on an elevator and have it be sure it was going to work. So it's distinctly possible they got jammed or whatever. But it is a problem, quite frankly, and it's it's not good. It's really not good, and I would. The cynic in me believes that it's Putin testing us. And this is what you get when you have what you've had, which is not, strength and resilience standing up to them, but being all over the map. I was talking to a prominent Republican just before the elections in 2024. And I remember him saying to me, the world's on fire, and the world's on, and the insinuation was that was somehow Joe Biden's fault. Truth of the matter is the world is more on fire because today you have had chaos, and uncertainty brings more chaos and uncertainty. And when you're talking about that happening with a place like Russia, people can close their eyes and say, oh, well, that's a European problem or whatever. The truth of the matter is Article 5, NATO, no NATO, history shows us. And the reality is if Europe ends up in a war with Russia, eventually one way or another, we're going to be consumed with that too.
And I think therein lies, go ahead.
it's a little bit like, casting, on the one hand, you have people saying we're in a civil war because Donald Trump is, doing what he's doing when we're not. Um, you know, what you see happening with those drones landing in Poland, that's right on the precipice of a war. And it is a war that no one anywhere on the globe is going to be escaping if it comes to that.
And I want to follow up just a little bit. And again, I don't want to backtrack too much, but I think it's just an important conversation because I think these are real conversations that I hear from people as we travel around the state. So I think it's just important to have honesty about this. Matt texted back in, and I'll simply paraphrase what he wrote, which is, in his view, he was saying that because Donald Trump is sending in troops in Washington, D.C., literally National Guard troops, and in L.A., the same thing, and in other places like Chicago, thus far, ICE troops, but particularly in D.C., in L.A., using National Guard members, that in his view, he's asking, isn't that a form of unconstitutional act of civil war? I get what you're saying, Trigby, because you've been in these areas of the world where there's actual war, actual civil war. But the perception, and you and I coming from politics know that perception is reality. I think for a lot of Americans, a lot of Wisconsinites might agree with Matt that in their perception to look out their windows in D.C. or L.A. and see National Guard tanks, to them it feels like a civil war.
I mean, I live in Washington, D.C. I don't know if I told this story on the radio. Maybe I didn't. What you're seeing with that is cosplay. And is it unconstitutional? Yeah, maybe. I mean, it certainly is not the tradition, and it's a bad look, and it isn't democracy. But to suggest that that's a civil war is quite frankly irresponsible, because it isn't. My daughter Ula is a huge fan of the WNBA. Apparently it's a thing, and I like that she is. The Washington Mystics stadium is over in Anacostia. Anacostia is not a good neighborhood. Quite frankly, it's a really not good neighborhood. And I said to her and her friend who I was dropping off, when you get picked up, you stay in the stadium until you know exactly where the car is. You don't go wandering around this neighborhood. To get to Anacostia from where I live, we had to drive down the mall. The National Guard guys are all sitting around on the mall, basically twiddling their thumbs. Most of them probably PO'd that they were missing their kids' first days of school in Texas or wherever they'd been sent from, doing nothing. There is no crime down on the mall. I mean, yeah, maybe occasionally, but there really isn't serious crime. It's cosplay. If Matt thinks there's a civil war going on because of that, he'll know there's a civil war going on when the National Guard is literally going door to door in his neighborhood, rounding up people like Matt, or is shooting people with live bullets on State Street who are protesting. That's a civil war. And so to use the term is quite frankly, I mean, it just isn't. It's as irresponsible when people who come from the left, and I'm not bagging on Matt. I don't want Matt to think I'm bagging on him, but it's irresponsible when the people on the left, and I hear politicians do that all the time, or not all the time, but you hear people on the left use that term. You hear people on the right have been using it for a long time. That kind of stuff, to Pat's point, begets actual real violence.
Right.
It just does.
And that's why and again, we respect Matt's a regular listener. We appreciate him. And yeah,
100%.
I agree. But I think I actually welcome this conversation because this is real conversations that Wisconsinites are having at the end of bars or at parks watching a football game on Friday nights or whatever.
You won't get it from the crazy lady down the dial. You'll get a lot of talk about Civil War, but you ain't gonna get an honest conversation about it. And people like Matt and I can disagree on the semantics. I agree with Matt. What Trump administration's doing on a daily basis, it's antithetical to the Constitution. It's antithetical to who we are as Americans. It's not a civil war.
And I think that's the important discussion to have, the perception of some people. And to your point, Trigby, I agree with you that a lot of this is cosplay so that people buy into this narrative that is thus far technically untrue. but it raises the heat in the kitchen and can lead to actual violence or
It
war.
creates, it creates chaos, and it creates the perception of fear. It creates the perception of fear that somebody felt like Charlie Kirk was enough of a threat that they needed to go and shoot him, or that some crazy man thought that a state legislator from Minnesota was enough of a threat that she showed up at they showed up at the person's house and shot the state legislator and their husband, and then went to another state legislator and shot them. Like, that's what that kind of rhetoric leads to. And I agree. Donald Trump is the worst offender to this. And it's that kind of cosplay and chaos that people think is somehow cool. It isn't cool. And it ultimately leads to people like Charlie Kirk, people like the state legislators being shot here at home. But even more frightening in some ways is it leads to people like Vladimir Putin, thinking that they can go marching into Poland.
Right. And yeah, I appreciate you bringing it back to that, because we have a caller on the line right now, 855-752-4842. Mark in Prairie du Sac. Mark, listening in, you wanted to talk about Russia for a second. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I was kind of delving into some history a little while back, and apparently prior to the up to the 18th century, apparently there had been some kind of commonwealth between, I think it was Ukraine, part of Belarus, the Baltic states, and Poland were actually in a commonwealth. And before Poland was Poland, I think but it was the Polish people. But they were in a commonwealth of nations, and Russia was not a big deal, as powerful as was then. And what's ironic is that Russia could be even more powerful if they were not engaged in these military exercises and the crap that they're pulling now. If they wanted to actually join with the modern European nations, I mean, like Peter the Great, for all his faults, I mean, he wanted Russia to be more European, and to actually and he probably went about it the wrong way, but Russia would be stronger economically if they actually joined the modern world and gave up this Stalinist view of empire that they apparently are engaged in right now.
I appreciate it. Go ahead, quickly, Mark.
Yeah, and quickly, are firearms allowed on campus in Utah? I mean,
I don't know the answer to that.
Get a firearm there. I mean, that's the other thing that popped into my head is that
there are. I'm not going to go there. There are some unconfirmed reports that Charlie Kirk himself may have been carrying a gun at this point, but that is unconfirmed at this hour. And we will try to stay on this program to what we know to be confirmed. But Mark, I appreciate the point. Quickly, Trigby, to Mark's point, I want to go back to what you said earlier in the show. Less than a month ago, Donald Trump literally rolled out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin, and doesn't that just give him empower him to do things like he did overnight, which is to eke into NATO territory with weapons in Poland, and as you said, testing the United States and the allies.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going on. What Mark was alluding to is the Lithuanian Polish Grand Duchy, which quite at one point was the largest country in Europe. It ran from all the way from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea. But yeah, there's no doubt we're being tested. We're being tested internally. We're being tested internationally. This is the result of what you have when you have chaos.
Come on back. More breaking news. We'll update you and tell you what it is after this on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Now, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going. We better stop. Children, what's that sound?
Wisconsin is cheering on.
And according to CNN, at least 2 students now have been shot at Evergreen High School in Evergreen, Colorado.
ABC says at least 3 injured. 2 students.
Yeah.
Important life lessons like teamwork, accountability.
Good Lord.
Second one within half an hour. That's cool.
They're about developing the whole person. That's why they're an essential part of every student's education.
Encourage your student to participate in the last classroom of the day. Interscholastic sports in Wisconsin. This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors
All right,
Association.
we'll update this, and
My name is
then
Chuck Collins. I'm the great-grandson
we'll
of
talk about
Patrick
Packers for a couple of
Ostermeyer
minutes.
and a member of the Patriotic Millionaires, a collection of wealthy Americans who share a profound concern about the dangers of concentrated wealth and power in America. Now, the fact is, you may not care how much money another person has, but you likely do care how much power another person has, especially if they're using that power to rig the rules of the economy to make themselves richer and you poorer. You see, there
Quote
is a point
from
where
the
money
chief
is no
marketing
longer money.
officer of Turning Point USA.
And when rich people
Quote,
use
he
their
was
money
shot in the
to
neck.
drown
He's
out
at the
the voices of
hospital. It doesn't
everyday
look good, unquote.
It threatens
Yeah, I
the
saw that on the
safety
screen
and
earlier. Thank
security
you.
of us all. Patriotic millionaires don't want to live in a country with a few extremely rich people controlling everything.
I figured you did, but I
Yeah, but
hadn't seen it written until
yeah,
then.
but thank you for
Luckily,
making
we have
sure
a
I saw it.
solution.
And now Desert News out in Utah is reporting that it's now unconfirmed whether the actual suspect is in custody.
Let's go Brewers.
You can go to the brewery.
Yeah, BBC, I've been following theirs, and they said that there is a suspect taken into custody, but they don't know that it was
the correct person is the actual shooter.
Download the free Civic Media app, find your local station, and listen for the keyword. Then text it through the app for your chance to win in this statewide contest.
Free Ticket Friday. On your local Civic Media radio station and the app.
Are you an entertainer, the star of the show, or do you like business and growing an enterprise? Maybe you prefer computers. and
Joseph on
electronics
YouTube
or
says regarding open carry, people over 18 can open carry on Utah college campuses as of May 2025.
Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate the info.
I've seen that elsewhere as well.
Let's just come back with the show bumper music,
at
please.
10 a.m. at Madison Marriott West in Middleton. Radio and TV professionals from around the state will be there to meet with you and talk about the many exciting opportunities in broadcasting. There's a lot more to radio and TV than being on camera or behind a microphone.
About 30
There are also
seconds.
Thank you.
jobs in engineering and
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Pacific Media Radio Network. Now, 8 minutes before the hour of 3 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. Appreciate you being with us, and can see many more people are tuning in to our live stream more than we usually get. We appreciate you turning to us in these times of breaking news and those listening to us over the air. So we will update you on what we know of the breaking news at this hour. According to desertnews.com in Utah, several other places, ABC, CNN, and the like, CBS, at this hour, Charlie Kirk, the conservative commentator, activist, founder of Turning Points USA, was shot at a Utah event at University of Utah Valley in Orem, Utah. Earlier today, Desert News reporters on the scene report seeing Kirk shot at a Q&A rally with students. About 2 minutes before or into the interview, rather, a gunshot was heard and Kirk appeared to be hit in the neck. Now, this is new news at this hour. Initially, it was believed that a shooter was in custody, but Desert News was told by officials the status of the shooter is unclear. The campus has been evacuated. At least 60 first responder vehicles were blocking the campus entrances this afternoon. Police have responded from Utah Highway Patrol and other vicinity or other municipalities around the area. So at this hour, Charlie Kirk confirmed to have been shot. He is at a hospital. His exact condition at this hour is unknown. And Zommers, I believe you sent me something else here. Just checking that very quickly here. Did you have the exact quote from folks at Turning Point USA? I want to make sure we get this right.
There were two quotes. The first one, Marina Minus, the chief marketing officer of Turning Point USA, said, quote, "He was shot in the neck. He's at the hospital. It doesn't look good, unquote, on CBS News. And on X, Agricultural Secretary Brooke Collins tweeted that Charlie Kirk is, quote, still with us. Please keep praying. He is in critical condition, but still with us.
So here's there's the being flashed up on the CBS News screen from Turning Points USA, Charlie Kirk's organization, saying, quote, "It doesn't look good," unquote. That is what we know. We don't want to speculate any further than what the facts show us at this hour. We'll continue to update you here at Civic Media and, of course, our ABC and CBS News sources as well. And if that wasn't enough, more breaking news at this hour. According to CNN, at least 2 students have been shot now at Evergreen High School in Evergreen, Colorado. According to Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, the students are being transported to a nearby hospital, the sheriff said. Evergreen is located roughly 28 miles southwest from Denver. This is a developing story. Again, that is in Evergreen, Colorado. At least 2 students shot at Evergreen High School in Evergreen, Colorado. Trigby, I don't know what else to say other than you're a dad. You have 2 daughters. There's a human element to this that it just gets overwhelming. I think we feel like a lot of us, like, what the hell do we do? You vote at the ballot box. You go to rallies, but I think a lot of people just feel helpless and depressed and sad and angry in moments like this.
Yeah, I mean, all those are, I mean, they're justifiable emotions, right? Like, they are. We as humans, it's hard to recognize that there are things outside our control, and maybe now more than ever because we have more information at our fingertips than we have at any point in history. But I mean, here's what I would say. Number one, everybody needs to find their thing that they can do where all of the daily minutia of whatever it is they have in their lives disappears. You know, as you know, for me, and I wrote about this once on my Substack, there's nothing better for me than when I step out on the ice to go play hockey. I might even be thinking about the day, good or bad, when I'm in the locker room putting on my gear. But when I hear my skate blade crack against the ice, that's what I'm focused on. And having that hour and 20 minutes every day is healthy. You need to find people that you can get together with and have conversations that don't deviate into the political or the bad. And here's the other thing. When bad things happen, 9/11 was one of the worst things that happened in any of our lives, if you're of a certain age.
Amen.
It was an event of immense hate by a few individuals. Flying airplanes into buildings that are filled with people is an immense act of hate. And it was easy to give into the anger of seeing that. But here's the thing that people forget. There was far more love shown 24 years ago tomorrow, than the act of hate. There were people in Nova Scotia who have little to nothing who were taking in Americans who had to land on their island because they couldn't get into the United States. There's what I experienced in Lithuania. Over 1,000 Lithuanians in front of the American embassy, leaving flowers, putting candles, hugging any Americans that they could find. It's just the reality. There's far more good in people, and you have to remind yourselves that can be the case, and you have to encourage people to think and recognize that when you're having conversations with them, preaching to people about politics isn't the answer. It's helping them find within themselves the differences between what they're advocating for politically and who they are as human beings in their daily life. You just do. And in a place like Wisconsin, it's filled with people, who are like so good to people who are immigrating to their communities, and yet they're standing for not being nice to people who are immigrants.
Great perspective, great analysis, Trick. We really appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much, my friend. We will talk to you soon. Come on back. Hour number 2 is straight ahead, including a live interview with the newest candidate for governor of the state of Wisconsin, David Crowley, County Executive of Milwaukee, in hour 2 straight ahead.
All right, Todd, I got to be leaving now at 4 o'clock exactly.
All right, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, see you, Zommers. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
A civic media station.
This special report from ABC News, I'm Michelle Franson. Turning Point founder and conservative political activist Charlie Kirk has been shot. 2 law enforcement sources confirmed the shooting to ABC News. It happened during an outdoor speaking event at Utah Valley's University campus. ABC's Aaron Katersky has the latest.
Orem, Utah, where UVU is located, where Charlie Kirk was speaking, has a very small police department that it shares with 2 other communities. So I imagine the FBI is going to be heavily involved in the investigation. Utah Valley University put out an alert confirming a single shot was fired on campus toward a visiting speaker. Law enforcement officials identified at ABC News as Charlie Kirk. Police are investigating now, and the suspect is in custody.
No other details have been released about the suspect. President Trump posting on social media, quote, "We must all pray for Charlie Kirk, who has been shot, a great guy from top to bottom." This is ABC News.
Local news, weather, and sports on air and streaming on the Civic Media app. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. September is Workforce Development Month, and Wisconsin is a leader in workforce programming. Shelly Pittman explains how state employees are helping people find new jobs.
Starting today and every Wednesday this month, the Department of Workforce Development will host Workforce Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at its job centers across the state.
Workforce Wednesdays help people connect. We've got career navigators to kind of look at people's resumes and see opportunities and help guide them to, either getting a job, finding a better job.
Lee Sensenbrenner is Assistant Deputy Secretary of the Department of Workforce Development. He tells Civic Media that the goal is to help people with the stress of finding a new job.
Hunting for a job can be pretty lonely and frustrating, right? And so the job centers are a chance to actually talk with a person who has expertise and years of helping people navigate this.
Wisconsin's unemployment rate is at 3.1%, and that's lower than the national average. But faced with a rapidly changing work landscape, finding a new job can be tough.
There could be people who've never done an online interview, completely foreign. So to practice that and to do the setup, run through some things, I think that's exactly kind of the things that the staff at DWE is ready to help with.
The Workforce Wednesdays can help you find the right career and also help folks with specialized services for veterans, or if you're living with a disability or have been involved in the criminal system. If you're hunting for a job online, Sensenbrenner recommends the Job Center of Wisconsin.
The South Central Job Center here in Dane County is over on Aberg Avenue on Madison's northeast side. They're open every weekday. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, 92.7 WMDX News.
The Brewers wrap it up in Texas. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with Sports Baseball. Game 3 of the Brewers-Rangers series today in Arlington. Milwaukee losing again last night, this time 5-4. The Rangers rookie Michael Hellman, the star again, with a leaping catch over the outfield fence to deny Bryce Terang a home run. And then he went out and hit his own 2-run homer in his next at-bat. The Brewers have reactivated Rhys Hoskins after missing 57 games with an injured thumb. NFL, the Packers signing wide receiver Christian Watson to a 1-year extension worth $13 million. Watson suffering a torn ACL early January against the Bears, expected back later this season. The Packers play the Commanders tomorrow night at Lambeau Field. Kickoff 7:15. Offensive tackle Zach Tom and guard Aaron Banks, both questionable for the game. College football, Wisconsin Badgers played Alabama for the first time ever this Saturday. Kickoff 11 a.m. It looks like Danny O'Neal will again start at quarterback. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Come work with us. Civic Media has a number of great jobs across the state. Open now at civicmedia.us/careers.
Mostly cloudy with spotty sprinkles today and high temperatures reaching the mid-70s. With clouds clearing later tonight, it'll be sunny tomorrow with highs returning to summer, hitting 80 degrees. The mugginess starts to seep in for Friday, and by Saturday, we're nearing 90. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. It's 73 degrees at our studios.
I don't know what to do.
When it
Should we
comes
Joe
to
is
do-
calling in
the
with
truth
thoughts
and
for
victory.
Charlie Kirk, by the way.
So let's
All
make
right,
it
that's
clear.
cool.
Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain
What do you
development
think? Should
through
we
their
do another
mid-20s.
With appealing
1-minute
flavors,
special
high
report
nicotine
thing and then
levels,
go into
and
the
lots
show?
of promotion on social media.
Many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping.
Because
I
when
think that
you
might
talk,
be
they
a
hear
good
you.
idea.
Learn more at
let's do that.
underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Amicus, a law review with Jim Santel.
Louisiana versus Calais, Calais, could deal a death
I'm not
blow
seeing
to the
anything
impact,
definitive
the
yet.
power, the capacity of the Supreme Court
Be
to
very
decide Voting Rights
Yes.
Act cases. This is one of those times when the Supreme Court needs to hear from the public about the appropriate
30 seconds.
resolution
Thank
of
you.
this major case that could compromise the Voting Rights Act going forward.
Good afternoon, everybody. Now 6 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. I'm Todd Allbaugh at the Civic Media News Center, world headquarters in downtown Madison, with a special report at this hour. We continue to follow the breaking news of the day. Following two major stories at this hour for you. First, according to desertnews.com, a publication from Utah, being confirmed by other sites as well. Here is what we know. Charlie Kirk, the founder of the conservative organization, the outspoken person on conservative issues as well, was shot earlier today. He is the founder of Turning Points USA, shot at an event in Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. Desert News reporters on the scene report seeing Kirk shot during a Q&A with students. About 2 minutes into the interview, shots were heard, or a shot was heard, and Kirk appeared to be hit in what looked to be the neck, according to reporters on the scene. Now, initially, it was believed that a shooter was in custody, but Desert News was told by officials the status of the shooter is unclear. The campus has been evacuated. Stepping away from the story, incorporating other sources, it appears that there is a person of interest in custody, but what is unconfirmed at this hour, whether that suspect is the actual alleged shooter. Very fluid situation. Want to make sure that we're passing on the most accurate information as we have it up to the minute. According to Desert News, at least 60 first responder vehicles were blocking the campus entrance in Utah at this hour. Quote, a single shot was fired on campus toward a visiting speaker. Police are investigating now. Suspect in custody, unquote. That is from the University of Police there at the university in Utah. Again, Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. The condition of Charlie Kirk has not been confirmed at this hour, although the executive director of Turning Points USA was quoted as saying, quote, it does not look good, unquote. But want to be very careful. Only report what we know based on the legitimate information that we are seeing, and that is what we know at this hour. Some reaction to Wisconsin lawmakers at this hour. This is being reported by Channel 3000, WISC, the CBS affiliate here in Madison. In his post on social media site X, formerly known as Twitter, Wisconsin U.S. Senator Ron Johnson asked his supporters to pray for Kirk, his family, and his team. United States Senator Tammy Baldwin also reacted to the shooting on an X post. Senator Baldwin saying, quote, there is no two ways about this. Political violence has no place in America. I'm keeping Charlie and his family in my thoughts in this truly horrifying moment, unquote. U.S. Representative Derek Van Orton said he was, quote, praying fervently, unquote, for Kirk in his family. Went on to say some hyper-partisan things as well I'm going to skip over right now. United States Congressman Scott Fitzgerald said he was, quote-unquote, horrified to learn of the shooting, saying, quote, "My prayers are with Charlie and his family. Political violence has no place in America ever." And U.S. Representative Tom Tiffany asked supporters to join him in praying for Kirk and the students of Utah Valley University. U.S. Representative Mark Pocan of Madison also responded to the shooting with a post on X. Congressman Pocan saying, quote, "Political violence is never acceptable. Gun violence is never acceptable. Never," unquote. We will continue to follow this breaking story again at this hour. What we know for sure is that the founder of Turning Points USA, conservative activist Charlie Kirk, has been shot in Utah with what appears to be a singular shot. A suspect is in custody. However, new reporting suggests that it is unknown whether that suspect actually was the alleged shooter. It remains to be a fluid situation. The Utah Valley University at Orem, Utah has been evacuated, and police and first responders are all over it there. There is a secondary shooting we continue to follow at this hour as well, and this time from the state of Colorado. According to CNN, at least 3 people have been shot at a Denver area high school, according to officials. 3 people are in critical condition after a shooting at Evergreen High School in Evergreen, Colorado, according to St. Anthony's Hospital. At least 2 of the victims are students, according to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. Evergreen is located roughly 28 miles southwest from Denver. The school has been placed on lockdown, according to Jefferson County Public Schools in Colorado, which is urging people to stay away from the area as law enforcement responds. Again, that is at Evergreen High School in Evergreen, Colorado. We'll continue to follow this story as well as the Charlie Kirk story through the rest of our upcoming program and on Civic Media, ABC, and CBS News as well. For now, at 11 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock, I'm Todd Allbaugh reporting for Civic Media News.
From the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with Mr. Aaron Zommers, our producer and engineer. It is 12 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on this Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. Foregoing the normal upbeat opening this hour, simply not appropriate given the breaking news, as you just heard. I went through that on that special report. We'll continue to follow both the shooting of Charlie Kirk in Utah today, as well as yet another school shooting in Colorado. At least 3 people are in critical condition in Evergreen, Colorado at this hour. Before we get into other news coming up, by the way, at the bottom of this hour, Wisconsin news for you. David Crowley, Milwaukee County executive, announcing yesterday he is the latest to get into the race for Wisconsin governor on the Democratic side. He joined Pat Kreitlow on Mornings with Pat Kreitlow this morning and is going to be our guest at the bottom of this hour, learning more about County Executive Crowley and his race for Wisconsin governor. Let's go to the phone lines. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Joe, listening on WMDX here in Madison. Joe, always appreciate your perspective on yet another disturbing day.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment before I make my remarks that every gun death in my mind is an incredible tragedy and is awful. It's an awful situation.
Agreed.
And I support reasonable gun control. I grew up with a father who collected guns, and I feel that reasonable gun control is a very reasonable way to go. Charlie Kirk was not in that same place. Here is an article from Newsweek, April 6, 2023, And he was giving remarks 1 week after 3 children and 3 adults were killed at the Christian Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee. That Nashville mass shooting was the 130th mass shooting in the United States in 2023. Charlie Kirk's response on this was, it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every year so that we can have a Second Amendment. He continued by saying, I think it's worth it to have a cost, unfortunately, of some gun deaths every year so we can have a Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. It's a prudent deal. It is rational. I'm sorry that his family is in this situation, but perhaps people need to offer more, especially from the conservative side, than thoughts and prayers. I mean, I think I speak for a lot of Americans by saying, kind of done with it, really kind of done with it. And I know that there's a lot of attention being put on Charlie Kirk, but let's put the same amount of attention on these 3 high schoolers who I'm sure had no intention of being in the political sphere and suffering gun deaths. How about the kids that were shot up in Minnesota? I just, sooner or later, you just have to say, this isn't working. And to say that this is the price of liberty is absurd. Other countries have guns and they don't have this situation. We have to look at responsible gun control, and Charlie Kirk didn't want to. I'm so sorry for him and his family. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Appreciate perspective, Joe, as always. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. And kind of balancing for myself right now the line of doing these special reports and more of a news anchor role, if you will. And whenever I'm in that situation, I try to put my own personal views aside and just report the news as we know it. But it also happens to occur in the middle of my daily show where I do offer perspectives and do offer my thoughts and encourage discussion from all sides. I tend to agree with Joe. As a gun owner, still hunt occasionally for pheasant and turkey. But I also, and I've said this program before, favor reasonable gun reforms such as red flag laws and waiting periods. I wish we could go back to the old assault weapons ban. I just don't see the need for that. But to Joe's point, it's going to be, and it's so tough to talk about this when we're in it, right? Because Charlie Kirk does have family, and whether he survives or not, it's going to impact all of them. These 3 kids, and another developing story in Colorado. But Charlie Kirk has family too, and friends. But it's going to be, if I remove myself from the humanity of it for a minute, it'll be interesting and fascinating to see how the right reacts. Once now that one of their own, just like when President Trump was shot during the campaign, how they react to this. And unfortunately, in my opinion, how they react is also going to be determined partly on who ultimately ends up being identified and charged and convicted as the shooter. And we're going to have a whole conversation around that. Not me personally, but the country. I was reminded over the break, our great director of operations, Luke Mathers, and Trigby and Pat Kreitlow, and again, thank you for them for being on the show in the first step. We talked about this. I forgot to mention it, so I appreciate Luke bringing it up because I think it's a really, really important point today. We don't have to go on social media today. We don't all have to offer our takes on our socials. And we don't all have to go on and watch this, which apparently it's already, blowing up. Probably a bad choice of words, but it's what they say in social media. It's blowing up all over social media. Very graphic video of this action. We don't have to watch that. And sometimes the best take, in my opinion, is no take. At least for a beat. Give ourselves a beat. Let's find out what really happened. Let's find out the truth and then offer takes. And that's not to say that Our callers, our texters aren't entitled to their look. This show largely exists around people's takes, my own and yours. But I think it's just a good reminder, particularly on social media, that we don't have to be consumed by all of this today. Our mental health, for one thing. All right, come on back. May talk a little Packers, maybe to turn a page for a moment. To then David Crowley at the bottom of the hour. Milwaukee County executive is running for governor. We'll talk to him as well. Stay tuned. Breaking news continues. It's the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media.
WMDX, Madison, living side by side with Sandhill Cranes.
Fall is in the air, and there's no better place to enjoy it than at Sugar River Pizza in Sun Prairie. Cozy up inside for some spirits, 48 beers on tap, and THC drinks. Choose from a wide selection of their warm pastas, 12-hour smoked pulled pork, and of course, their pizzas. Voted Best of Madison, Sugar River Pizza is known for great food, great drinks, and a warm, welcoming atmosphere. Located on Cabela Drive in Sun Prairie, they also offer catering. Sugar River Pizza, where fall feels like home.
Herbal Aspect has landed. That's right, Madison's go-to cannabis destination now has a brand new location in Sun Prairie.
Wait, 4 locations? That's a high level of convenience.
With 3 Madison locations and now Sun Prairie, a great cannabis experience is always close by. Our expert staff is here to help, whether you walk in, call, or order online. Mention Radio 420 and get a special discount. So stop by Herbal Aspect in Sun Prairie, because great cannabis isn't just a pipe dream.
Nice. I'm rolling over now.
Herbal Aspect.
Hey, Gordy, I gotta admit, these hearing aids from Madison Hearing Aid Center changed my life.
Mine too, John. I thought I needed subtitles to talk to my grandkids.
And these aren't those old giant clunkers we saw in the old days. It's got Bluetooth, it's rechargeable, the works.
Yeah, my phone connects straight to my ears. I'm basically a cyborg now.
Hey, you just figured out texting last year, too.
Yeah, baby steps. But I did call Madison Hearing Aid Center, and you should too. 608-249-4077.
608-249-4077. Tell them John and Gordy sent you.
No more mold, no more damage, no more slipping and hurting. Make your ordinary bathroom extraordinary for only $99 per month. New shower, new door, new tub, new wall, new anti-slip technology. BCI Bath and Shower is made in America for the highest quality. First 50 callers save $1,500 on a never clear glass treated door. BCI Bath and Shower. Interest-free financing options. 800-329-4115. 800-329-4115. 800-329-4115.
Burlow Mattress on East Washington is having a moving sale.
About 20
Shop
seconds.
now while
Thank
supplies
you.
last. We get 25.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead, and not so much fun on a Wednesday afternoon. 22 now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Glad to have you along. We'll continue to follow the breaking news of the shooting of Charlie Kirk. His exact condition yet unknown at this hour. A suspect in custody, although they do not know. It is not confirmed whether that is the alleged shooter. And now 3 people shot at a Denver school this afternoon in Evergreen, Colorado. That continues to remain a fluid situation at this hour. We'll bring you updates as they become available. Also, after the bottom of the hour, after the farm news, we're going to have David Crowley here, Milwaukee County Executive, the newest gubernatorial candidate on the Democratic side. Looking forward to a discussion with him. Zommers, let's turn a page just for a moment. If we think we need as Jane Matnair might say, a little a palate cleanser, a little bit, just
something like that,
to take our mind off of the events of the day, just for a moment at least. This from PBS Wisconsin. You want to know about one of the many reasons I love PBS Wisconsin? Here you go. They have a section called Wisconsin Life, and something called Game Day. And this is fantastic. They interviewed one of the longtime Green Bay Packer field manager, Alan Johnson, on what it takes to get Lambeau Field ready. Of course, Packers got a big win over the weekend on Sunday against the Detroit Lions, and quick turnaround as the Packers have to play tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football against the Washington Commanders. Take a couple minutes here of this great piece by PBS Wisconsin on the Green Bay Packers field manager, Alan Johnson.
Welcome to game day at Lambeau Field. There's a sea of fans, a few bands, and tailgating as far as the eye can see. But before any fans come marching in, it's game on for Alan Johnson.
I tell people all the time I'm a farmer, and I'm growing a crop. It just happens to be for a football team.
Alan is the Green Bay Packers field manager. He's responsible for one of the most iconic pieces of sports turf in America.
You think about what you do is seen for 3 hours on TV by millions of people, so there's a lot of pressure. It's best not to think about it.
All right, come on. There's a lot fans might not think about when it comes to this homegrown Packers pasture.
The big day is the day before. Me and my crew are painting the field and getting it ready.
The field crew paints every letter, every NFL logo, and every hash mark every week the Packers play at home. Despite using 145 gallons of paint, their artwork doesn't last long on this canvas that stretches the length of a football field. It takes a 5-man crew an entire day to repaint perfection, and each season that canvas is new.
Every spring on Lambeau Field, we actually peel off the grass and remove it mechanically with a machine, and we have to grow that back in from seed. If we let the grass get too mature and too thick, it'll be harder for those cleats to break through that grass canopy and sink in where the good footing is.
Another little known fact, Lambeau Field is based on a synthetic and natural turf perfected overseas.
All the soccer in Europe, the soccer fields in the Premier League are this type of system. They're a high-performing field. We are the only field with this type of system. Everything's dictated by the weather. Because it's sand, you got to pay attention to the water. We have another technology that we utilize, and it really came in handy when we expanded to the south part of the stadium. They're grow lights, and we fold the arms out, and it helps extend our growing season. We are unique in the sense that we are a natural grass field, probably the northernmost in latitude.
There you go.
There's
a little bit of, we'll leave it at there. There's a little bit longer of it if you go to PBS Wisconsin. Great interview there by PBS Wisconsin with Alan Johnson, the Green Bay Packers field manager. And until I heard that, I'd kind of forgotten that, more recently the turf went from all natural grass into this semi-artificial. There's some turf, artificial turf, but there's also dirt in it, and there's real grass mixed in as well, and there's heaters underneath, and they bring lights in on top. I mean, it is a true sophisticated deal on there with the Lambeau Field. So I think when we turn on the game on Sundays or Thursdays, whenever it might be, or you listen, hopefully on the Civic Media Radio Network and our Packer affiliates, you don't think about what it takes to actually create the turf and keep things up. So really interesting. Again, you can find all that interview at PBS Wisconsin, spelled out Wisconsin, pbswisconsin.org. We thank them for that great reporting. A quick update for you, and many thanks to Jake up here at Civic Media, because you get reading things quickly, and you want to make sure we get things right here. One of the main sources for this tragic shooting out in Utah today of Charlie Kirk, the Turning Point's founder. The correct pronunciation is Deseret News. I think I was pronouncing it Desert News. My apologies, and thanks for Jacob for correcting me on that, but it's DeseretNews.com. Again, Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Points USA, conservative, shot in the neck. Reportedly, his exact condition is unknown, although the executive of Turning Points USA says, quote unquote, it does not look good at this hour. A suspect is in custody. It is unknown whether that suspect is the actual shooter at this hour. And also going on at Evergreen High School in Evergreen, Colorado. According to St. Anthony's Hospital there, at least 3 people have been shot in a Denver area high school shooting this afternoon. So it is a a fluid situation, to say the best. New reporting at this hour: the initial suspect has now been released. Thank you, Zombers, for that update. That is according to the Associated Press, CNN, the BBC, and others. So now, according to those sources, the initial suspect has been released, which means that the alleged gun person at this hour is still at large in Utah. We'll continue to follow this. We're going to take a look at farm news with Pam Yonke, Midwest Farm Report, turn a page, come back and talk with Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley on his entry into the gubernatorial run here in the state of Wisconsin. Don't go anywhere. It's the Civic Media Radio Network across Wisconsin.
.7 WMDX, helping to keep Madison weird.
Join the family.
County Executive Crowley, how are you?
Oh, every day is a good day. How are you, Todd?
I am well. Pleasure to meet you virtually. I heard great things about you, so thank you so much for taking the time for us today.
I'm so glad to be here. It's been a interesting 2 days so far.
I'm sure it has been. Obviously, I'm assuming you heard about this news about Charlie Kirk and another shooting in Colorado in a school. So kind of a crazy fluid news day, as it were. So what I'll probably do is when we first come back, I'm just going to take 30 or probably 60 seconds to update people on that story. Then we'll get into your interview. Feel free to comment on it or not, whichever you want to do. And then we'll get in. I always like to keep it conversational. Usually start off just by tell us a little bit something about yourself, and then to get into the campaign a little bit.
Not a problem.
And where do we find you today?
I am finally back in Milwaukee. I've been in Madison, La Crosse, and so I'm back in Milwaukee.
Wow.
We got this interview, and then we're going to do our rally tonight.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. Yeah. That's very good. All right. We're back on in about 3 minutes or so. Just a reminder, this portion of the show right now is being streamed live out over our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter handles, but we're not on the air on the broadcast channels until we come back from break. But just like to remind people, as my old boss in the Capitol used to say, don't say anything that you don't want on the front page of the Journal Sentinel.
Okay, so who was your old boss?
I worked for Dale Schultz for five different stints. He used to call me the Billy Martin of the Schultz office, although I was never fired like Billy Martin was. I worked for Scott Klug when he was in Congress for a while. Then when he retired, I came back to Dale's office. And so, I had the good fortune of working for a couple of what is now an extinct species, a moderate Republican.
Man, I know. We would kill for Dale Schultz right now.
Right? And so I left my former party in 2011 while my last stint with Dale after just kind of seeing inside caucuses trying to disenfranchise people's voting rights. And I said, this isn't what I signed up for. And so I'm an independent now. So I voted pretty much straight Democratic since, but that's because I feel that's the only major party left that actually cares about democracy. But that's just me.
I hear you on that one, brother.
All right.
For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Stephanie Hoff.
Download the Civic Media app in the Google Play or Apple App Store and take us everywhere. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Mostly clear tonight. A low in the mid-50s with patchy fog tomorrow morning. Then turning mostly sunny, warm for tomorrow afternoon, high in the upper 70s. 80s for the rest of the week and weekend. Next chance of showers and thunderstorms Sunday night into Monday. Currently at 75 degrees.
The John and Gordy Show.
We're talking with Mike McCabe. We have this whole thing where people's jobs are being replaced with AI and robots.
Yeah. We have to make sure that just all of the proceeds, the savings that are achieved by replacing people with machines just don't go into the pockets of the billionaires. You've got to have a society where the benefits of technological advancements are widely shared.
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.7 WMDX and the Civic Media app.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if
About
you're
25 seconds.
visit
Thank you.
SaveByTheScan.org.
Welcome back to the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Now 35 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on this Wednesday, September 10th. Zomer is on the board. Glad to have you along. A quick update on our top breaking news story of the day. According to the Deseret.com, a publication from Utah, as well as other major publications and news sources around the country, the founder of TurningPoints.com, conservative commentator and activist Charlie Kirk, was shot earlier this afternoon at an event at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. On-site witnesses, including reporters, confirmed that Kirk was shot in what appeared to be the neck area. His exact status is unknown at this time. We understand there are differing reports out on socials right now, but we are going to stick with the facts as we know them, that Charlie Kirk's status is unknown. There had been an arrest, according to University Police, of a suspect, according now to the Associated Press and others. That suspect has been released. Therefore, it remains a fluid situation that the alleged shooter is still at large there in Utah. And quickly, at least 3 people are confirmed shot and injured at a Denver area high school this afternoon in Evergreen High School in Colorado, according to St. Anthony's Hospital. We'll continue to provide live updates on Civic Media throughout the afternoon. 36 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Let us turn a page and turn our attention to Wisconsin politics. A brand new entry into the governor's race here in the state on the Democratic side was not necessarily a surprise, nor was it unexpected if you followed what he said over the last few weeks. But David Crowley, Milwaukee County executive, entered the race yesterday and joins us live from the great city of Milwaukee. County Executive Crowley, thank you so very much for being here on what has turned out to be a very difficult day news-wise.
Well, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you for having me. And before we really get started, I think we have to acknowledge, my thoughts and prayers are not only with, what happened in Denver, but also with Charlie Kirk. And so, there's no reason why we have this level of hate or level of violence in our country. But we have to push back against the level of political violence that we have seen increase across this country. We may have our differences, but we have to agree to disagree. We have to focus on how we can move forward together, because this is our state, this is our country, and we have to live in it and share it with one another. So my thoughts and prayers with everyone who has been affected and inflicted violence upon them.
Appreciate those thoughts on the breaking news today, County Executive Crowley. Let's turn a page just for a moment here, because that's why you're here. I appreciate you taking time to come on our program. And I know you're on with our colleague, Pat Kreitlow, on Mornings with Pat Kreitlow earlier this morning. As we say on this show, it's your first time here. So on our show, we appreciate that. As we like to say, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and how you ended up into the public service sector.
Absolutely. And, I was born and raised here in the city of Milwaukee, lifelong Wisconsinite, went to public schools my entire life and had great parents, but they both, struggled with mental health or struggled with drug addiction. And when I was a junior in high school, I had went through so much. We were evicted 3 times before I graduated high school. There was a lot of housing instability. but it was an organization that literally saved my life called Urban Underground, youth organization that introduced me to community organizing and working with nonprofits and grassroots organizations on the ground. It translated to getting involved in politics. So in 2010, I decided to go work for Russ Feingold, traveling all across this state, helping to get him reelected. Then I had the opportunity to work for a county board supervisor, Nakia Dodd, who went on to be a state senator, worked for a year and a half as a legislative aide, 4 years as the political director in her state Senate office. And then I got bit by that bug to actually run for office myself. And so in 2016, I was elected to represent the 17th Assembly District. I was also elected to be the chair of our Milwaukee delegation, as well as chair of our Black Legislative Caucus. And in 2019, I leaped before I looked and decided to get into this county exec's race. And I have been serving as the county executive, sworn in May 4th, 2020, and was reelected with 85% of the vote in 2024.
I find it interesting and fascinating as a person who is a kind of a political nut. You're Milwaukee's first Black county executive and the youngest person to hold office. You're all of 39 right now, but you're a rising political star in this state. And I think at a time when we have a lot of talk nationally and even at the state level about elder statespeople, shall we say, you bring a unique generational shift in a perspective.
I do. And I appreciate you looking at me as a rising political star in this state. And it's one of the reasons why I got involved in wanting to run for governor. We've been able to tackle many different issues across Milwaukee County, but what's been important is how we've created more partnerships. And, we have to do that. If we want to move our community forward, if we want to move this state forward, it's about stepping outside our geographical comfort zone, being able to agree to disagree, but more importantly, just learning about one another. One of my favorite quotes is, "No one cares what you know until they know how much you care." And being from an urban area, I've been introduced to rural areas as a kid. My father taking me to La Crosse and taking me all over the state, whether we're going fishing or going duck hunting. And so I have familiarity with rural communities. But this is a great opportunity to enter this race to continue to move our state forward.
So I come from Southwest Wisconsin. Lived in Madison the better part of 20 plus years, but grew up out in Southwest Wisconsin. As my granddad might say to you, what do you say as you go around Wisconsin, County Executive David Crowley, and they look at you and say, "So why do you want the job?"
Which is a great question. One, I think it's important to acknowledge that Governor Evers, he has been a great leader. He has led with a steady, calm strength here in the state of Wisconsin, leading us through the pandemic, helping to protect our democracy and protect, quite frankly, our working families from a lot of harm. I spent 7 years in the state capitol, so I know how Madison works. And I've also gotten things done with a Republican-controlled legislature. And for the past 5 years, I've been leading the largest county in the state of Wisconsin, representing close to 1 million people, which is a sixth of our entire state's population, but also managing one of the largest budgets in the state with a $1.4 billion budget. And so since 2020, I've not only led our community through the pandemic, but we've tackled some of the toughest issues throughout the county: public health, public safety, fiscal recovery. We've invested in small businesses all across Milwaukee County. We've created more affordable housing options. We've made government more accessible. We've cut our carbon emissions in half, all while being able to deliver the largest property tax cut in Milwaukee County's history. And so I know that I am the only candidate with not only legislative experience, but I have experience actually running a government. So on day one, I'll be ready to hit the ground hard and hit the ground running. But I truly believe that the stakes are, quite frankly, they're too high, and we don't have any time to waste as Democrats.
We're talking to Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, who is the latest entry on the Democratic side in the race for Wisconsin governor. 90-second answers if you can, or 1 minute, because I want to make sure we get a couple of things in here. By running against the clock. The first one, as you travel around the state, what are the top 2, no more than 3 issues that are on Wisconsin voters' minds in this race for governor?
Well, it's about tackling this affordability crisis that so many folks are going through. People are getting less even if they're making more. We need to provide them with some type of relief. And we have to acknowledge there's only so much that we can do with this economic chaos that's being inflicted on families under the Trump administration, but it doesn't mean that we can't help families move forward. I know what it's like to struggle, what it's like not to be able to pay your bills or put food on the table. And what we need to be focusing on is how do we create family sustaining jobs, good jobs? How do we fully fund our public schools to make sure our young people, our kids are ready for the jobs of today and tomorrow, and just making things that much more affordable, whether we're talking about healthcare. But I'm looking forward to going across this state, learning about the different issues, because there isn't a one size fits all to the solutions that affect every community in this state. And so I want to make sure that as we travel, those who have been impacted, that they are closest to the solutions that can fit their community. We need to right size these solutions for every community.
Know people that know you. I've watched you before. You're not someone who's afraid to tackle tough issues or tough questions. I'm just going to put it out there. You're a person who happens to be black. I'm a person who happens to be gay. There are people in this race who happen to be women. I know my former party that I left in 2011 very well, and I know that they take those things that can be dividers against each other and manipulate that to win elections. We saw it last time against former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, where they darkened the pigment of his skin, exaggerated things, made up lies to beat him. Do you have a plan for politically inoculating yourself against those types of attacks? And if so, are you willing to share any of them with us?
Well, we are definitely going to be, knocking down any of these attacks. But see, that's what the Republicans do. They want to distract and divide people because this is the only way that they can stay in power, because they're not bringing any substance to the table. They will talk about me being from Milwaukee, me being black, but that's not putting food on people's table. That's not making sure that they can afford their child care. And the issues that I've been working on here in Milwaukee, these aren't Democratic issues. These aren't Milwaukee issues. These are Wisconsin issues. And so I'm going to go across the entire state and look and let everybody know that I'm looking to be the governor for all of us. We can't allow these divisions to stop our entire state from moving forward. And so what we're going to focus on is the things that matter. We're going to focus on affordability. We're going to focus on housing. And I know that we're going to be able to get people in part of this campaign, not because of what we've done, but what I know we can do together. And so whether you're a Democrat, an independent, or Republican, I want folks to know that there's a place in this campaign for you.
Earlier today, Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson endorsed you. There was some thought that you may both enter this race. His endorsement has to be huge for your campaign. There are two counties in a Democratic primary that could really, it comes down to three places, right? It's Milwaukee County, Dane County, and everybody else in a Democratic primary. It has to be a big feather in your campaign early on to get the mayor's endorsement.
It is. I truly appreciate the mayor's belief and inspiration in me for running for this seat. And I think it's no secret that I represent the largest Democratic community in the entire state of Wisconsin, which actually makes me uniquely positioned to bring more Democratic votes out of Milwaukee County. And we're not going to leave no stone unturned. So we're going to continue to travel across this state, and there are going to be more endorsements coming out tonight. And so just wait and see.
We'll stay tuned for that. Let me ask you quickly, ask to other people as well. How do you win a Democratic primary right now where you have a progressive base that really is, quote unquote, angry and wants Democrats to fight harder? They say, how do you win this primary, but not so far alienated to the left that you can't win a general?
Well, one, I think I bring, experienced executive leadership, to this race. And we also have to understand that, they're always trying to put labels, but we do need a fighter. But it's not just about fighting against the policies that we see the Trump administration and the fact that Wisconsin Republicans, they're literally carrying the president's water versus carrying the concerns of the people to the floor. And so the way that we win this race is we're going to talk to everybody. I think that primaries are great for our democracy. It gives voters the opportunity to see the candidates. But whoever that Democratic nominee is, they're going to become that much more better because they went through this primary process. And so we're going to talk about what we've done for Milwaukee County. We're going to cut through all the distractions and divisions and talk about how we need to build a broader table. If we're going to win this race, right, we got to build a coalition, which means we got to unify our base, energize the people on the ground, bring new voices to the table, and figure out ways to bring independence back. And I know that we're going to be able to speak to all of those different categories of people.
Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, thank you very much for being here. Safe travels around the state of Wisconsin on your gubernatorial run. You have an open mic on this show anytime. We'd love to have you back as the campaign continues.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I know I'll be back, Todd. Appreciate your work.
We appreciate you very much. David Crowley, Milwaukee County Executive, latest candidate for governor of the state of Wisconsin. Stay tuned. We have an update on breaking news of Charlie Kirk. We'll tell it to you when we come back. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Thank you very much, County Executive Crowley. I really appreciate it. Great job. Really appreciate your forthright answers on that stuff.
Oh, not a problem. Thank you, Todd. Thank you for the opportunity.
Our pleasure. We'll love to have you back another time. Have a great day.
You too.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
John, I thought I needed subtitles to talk to my grandkids. And these aren't those old giant.
Yeah, so according to just about every major news outlet, they're reporting Charlie Kirk has died, President Trump says, because the source of the announcement is a Truth Social post.
And you should too. 608-249-4077.
608-249-4077. Tell them John and Gordy sent.
It's just weird that they let Trump say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is really weird.
Commitments extend beyond our workplace and your home to support our community. We judge people by the content of their character, not by.
But I mean, it's so like them too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
education, childcare, and healthcare. But what do you believe in? At Chad's Design Build, we believe every person must have the opportunity to thrive. If you're thinking about remodeling your home, go to chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more about our commitments to you, your home, and our community.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDonald.
Do you want the full statement from Trump? I can put it in the chat.
I founded Wesley Financial Group.
Hang on, I might have it here. If not,
To help
yeah.
honest
But go
folks
ahead,
build
just while we have it. Thank you.
Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company.
I've got another story
in the United
here. This
States.
one's CNN, I
Fortune
guess it is, but it's on
magazine
Channel
even
3000.
recognized us
Thank
as
you very
one of the
much.
best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-549-8866. 800-549-8866. 800-549-8866.
At Hazelden Betty Ford, treating mental health isn't just about breaking old patterns. It's about braving new ones. As the leader in alcohol and drug treatment for 75 years, we know caring for addiction, anxiety, depression, and trauma goes hand in hand. We're here for you with new tools when life breaks down. Discover your path to better mental health at hazeldenbettyford.org/Wisconsin.
Dave in New Berlin, exactly. But that is the source we have at the moment.
Dan Marcus is here. One of the snacks Dan likes is called Sen.
Kind of tart and sour.
The packaging is not great. I understand it's very old, but like you got, it's like
30
a
seconds.
toffee
Thank you.
fay or something. Like
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is now 8 minutes before the hour of 4 o'clock. At the top of the hour, ABC or CBS News, depending upon which of our stations you're listening to. A weather update, sports with Mike Clemens, and then another edition of the Maggie Dawn Show. I anticipate that Maggie will continue to cover our breaking news at this hour, and we are going to give you an update right now. This, according to CNN and being confirmed by other sources, Charlie Kirk, the conservative political activist and co-founder of Turning Points USA, was killed this afternoon after being shot at an event in Utah Valley University. President Donald Trump wrote on Truth Social moments ago. He was 31 years old. As Trump remade the Republican Party, Kirk embodied the party's new-founded populist conservatism in the social media age. Kirk's involvement began in the wake of the Tea Party movement and grew with Trump's ascendance. Having co-founded Turning Point in 2012 at the age of 18, Kirk was a prominent supporter of Trump who courted young voters and used his network of nonprofits to seek to turn out voters on campuses and churches for Trump in 2024. Kirk was answering questions at an event this afternoon on a 14-city tour when a single pop was heard. Video taken by attendees shows the crowd screaming as Kirk recoils in his seat and appears to reach for his neck. Among those in attendance was former U.S. Representative Jason Chaffetz, a Utah Republican. He said earlier on Fox News he was at the event with his wife, daughter, and son-in-law. He said Kirk, quote, came out, he was throwing hats, riling up the crowd, unquote, and then started taking questions before being shot. Quote, I was watching Charlie. I can't say I saw blood. I can't say that I saw him get hit, but I did see him fall immediately backwards into his left, unquote. The American Comeback Tour had Kirk's signature Prove Me Wrong table, where Kirk would urge those who disagree with him to debate an issue. Trump has credited Kirk with galvanizing and mobilizing the youth vote for him. Kirk most recently appeared in the Oval Office in May, attending the swearing-in ceremony with Judge Jeannie Pirro. The president and dozens of Kirk's other allies, as well as Democrats who had sharp disagreements with him, posted well wishes and calls for prayers online. Kirk, an Illinois native, married in 2021. The couple have 2 young children. Again, according to a post by President Trump, Charlie Kirk has been killed this afternoon. Has been pronounced dead. Charlie Kirk was 31 years old. Then, of course, in addition to the other story we are following this afternoon, breaking news out of Colorado, where at least 3 people, students, were injured in a shooting in Denver, Colorado, at Evergreen High School in Evergreen, Colorado. More than 100 law enforcement officers are working to clear that school, quote, room by room, as it remains on lockdown, officials said. No suspects are in custody, and authorities are working to determine whether there was one or multiple shooters involved there, according to police in Colorado. The tragedy in Colorado marks the 47th shooting that took place at a school in the United States so far this year, 24 of which were on college campuses and 23 on K-12 school grounds. Colorado's shooting took place less than an hour after conservative activist Charlie Kirk was shot, and now we have reports that he has been killed in Utah Valley University. Again, updating on the Charlie Kirk situation, there had been an arrest of a suspect in custody, but now it is reported by the Associated Press and other news sources that that suspect has been released. At this hour, it is unknown. It appears that the shooter in the Charlie Kirk shooting in Utah is still at large, and again, unknown in the Colorado shooting as well. The New York Times says that Kirk's spokesman has now confirmed that Charlie Kirk is dead, being confirmed as being reported by the New York Times. Tough day on the show. Never the things we want to talk about. And again, as we had discussions with Pat Kreitlow and Trygve Olsen on this show earlier, I appreciate the comments of Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley. There has to be a point, in my opinion, when this country wants to truly reckon with these types of issues. And it's going, and again, to remove myself from the news portion of this as a commentator, now it's going to come down to who was the shooter, what's their background. People point fingers, lay blame. But a good reminder that, again, none of us have to go on socials today. None of us have to watch this video that's out there. None of us have to comment on it today. Appreciate everybody involved on these. I have the honor and the privilege of being the person behind the mic in these situations, but it takes an entire team to bring the factual information to you. Want to thank our political editor here at Civic Media, Dan Schaefer, for staying on top of this and giving us information. Director of Operations, Luke Mathers, for being with us throughout the show, making sure that we get you accurate information. And there is no better live producer in this business than Aaron Zommers, who doing yeoman's work on the board today. Pat Kreitlow of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, Trygve Olson, Senior Advisor to the Lincoln Project, and David Crowley, Milwaukee County Executive. Thank you to all of them and all of you for listening. Stay safe out there. Hug those that you love. And take time for your own mental health and get away from it. Maggie Dawn is next. Todd Allbaugh saying whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. We'll see you tomorrow.
Keep banging on your drum. Keep banging on, and your day will come. Keep banging on your drum, and they will hear you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Tough day. Appreciate you all sticking with us, and we'll see you tomorrow for hopefully better news.
Adios.